We are in Storm Center monitoring that snow that I mentioned across the Prairie provinces. Today specifically, we're monitoring Alberta. Right now, you've already seen some snow falling in the last 24 hours, and we still have more to come, upwards of 3 to 5 centimeters per hour. So this is fast accumulating snow here as we see some portions of the province like Edmonton, for example, 25 centimeters for you is possible. Lethbridge, 25 centimeters is possible for you too. And it doesn't really stop there. The snowfall will then continue to you in Saskatchewan and then Manitoba. We're still monitoring upwards of 30 centimeters possible for the area of Regina, and this all comes this weekend. Saturday, today would be the day to watch in Alberta. As we head into Saturday evening and your Sunday, that's when you need to watch out in Saskatoon. And then as we head into your Sunday and in through Monday, Winnipeg. We know your forecast is twice as important on the weekends. That's why we got you covered with experts and insight on what matters most. Join me every Saturday and Sunday mornings on the Weather Network. Welcome to our Storm Center coverage here on the Weather Network. We are monitoring heavy snowfall for you in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, upwards of 3 to 5 centimeters per hour. So quite heavy accumulations there. I'm Fenn Alvarado with your full weather details. Now here's the amount of snow that we could see from now until at least Monday morning. Heaviest snowfall for you in Alberta today, upwards of 25 centimeters through that Edmonton area. As we head into Saskatchewan, now upwards of 30 centimeters in Regina. And then meanwhile, southern portions of Manitoba, like Winnipeg, could experience 10 centimeters. Now here's the timing on this. Saturday morning, you've already seen some snow through Edmonton, Alberta. That's just going to continue throughout the province. As we head into your overnight, that's when Saskatoon gets that snow threat. And then as we progress into your Sunday, that's where you could see some snow through Winnipeg and Dauphin. Now, we could be shattering a little bit of a record here. You could see, back in 2002, you saw upwards of 20 centimeters. If we do get that 35 centimeters in Edmonton, you could shatter that record. And it looks like we possibly could get there with that 25 centimeter range. I mean, this is fluffy snow we're talking about. We're also monitoring the risk of blowing snow throughout the day, but those temperatures really cooling down. Take a look consistently in that -10 temperature, but those winds, they're not as strong as you typically would experience during blizzard criteria, so this isn't quite blizzard criteria for you, but certainly just be aware if you are traveling on any roadways, this would be one of your first major accumulations throughout the Prairie provinces. Now, as we head further east now, we are monitoring some rain for you in southern Ontario and plenty of rain for you in Atlantic Canada. Take a look at those icons indicating widespread rainfall, upwards of 30 millimeters possible in St. John's, and then just southern portions of Nova Scotia, 60 millimeters is possible for you, and that's not all. We're monitoring snow as well. I must say this is a lighter snow, but just keep on the lookout if you are in that Edmundston area. It is that time of year, right? Your temperatures are fairly cool, but that rain, that's going to be the biggest threat for your Saturday evening. You see that widespread rainfall. Saturday night continuing by Sunday morning, heavier rainfall for you on the Avalon. We do get a little bit of a break for you in the Maritimes on Sunday, like in that Truro area, but by Monday morning, that rain does come back. So a soggy next couple of days for you. Nationally, we're really watching such a cool pattern. Don't get used to these conditions in southern Ontario. 8 degrees in Toronto this afternoon, 8 in Hamilton, 7 in London. Those winds ramping upwards of 50 kilometers an hour across our Great Lakes, which is going to help to make your conditions feel just a little bit cooler than you normally would experience. Meanwhile, we are monitoring some rain for you across the GTA for your Saturday, lingering showers possible on Sunday, but northern portions of Ontario could expect some snow. For example, Timmins, we are monitoring snow for you. I'll talk more about that in your program in just a few moments, but the GTA, have an umbrella handy just in case if you're in and around any of these areas and see that blue there, you could see your first little bit of flurries if you're in high elevated areas like Orangeville, for example. Even through Barrie, you could experience some flurries. We're not talking about a big accumulated snowy mess, but just be on the lookout. It just really goes to show how cold our conditions are getting. Speaking of wind gusts in Ontario, as we head into British Columbia, those winds not as strong as you would have experienced throughout that weather bomb, for example, but still monitoring some rain for you. That western coast, upwards of 75 millimeters possible. And then through that Metro Vancouver area, just upwards of 30 millimeters of rain for you. Now we have plenty of more storm center coverage coming right up, so stay with us throughout the hour as we continue to monitor the snow. Certainly feeling more November, even December-like for some of you. I'm Victoria Fenn, Alvarado, as we continue our storm center coverage. This is a look at the temperature pattern. That purple color is just indicating that sinking polar air. We are monitoring snow alongside the cool conditions for you. Now, you've already seen some snow falling through that Edmonton Red Deer area. Be aware if you are traveling along the QE2 today, because more snow is on the way. We're looking at snowfall rates of upwards of 3 to 5 centimeters per hour. Now, Saturday afternoon, heavy snowfall for you, especially through southern Alberta. As we head into your overnight, that's when the snow progresses through Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and it doesn't stop there. It does keep continuing towards Dauphin and Winnipeg by your Sunday morning. So this whole weekend is looking like quite the snowy pattern for you. This is going to be more so of fluffy snow. So we are monitoring gusty conditions, which could make for reduced visibility on those roadways, with also 25 centimeters projected from now until at least Sunday. Meanwhile, through your Monday, from now until Monday, that's when we could see upwards of 30 centimeters for you in Regina, 30 centimeters for you in Dauphin as well. Your temperature story, that's a whole other story. Take a look at this afternoon's conditions. Minus 10 Calgary, minus 10 Saskatoon, minus 5 Winnipeg. I want to jump just a little bit to Sunday, because those conditions really not any warmer. If anything, they're getting cooler. Calgary is now minus 13, and it doesn't stop there. The whole week in Saskatoon really looking like a cool pattern. By Wednesday, a low of minus 21. Edmonton, a similar story for you there. You're going to want to bundle up, and it doesn't stop throughout the Prairie provinces. We do have a cool down in your long-range forecast in southern Ontario, so enjoy these conditions while you can, because 8 degrees, that won't last too long, especially those overnight conditions. They're really starting to dip. Meanwhile, a soggy pattern for you in Atlantic Canada. Widespread rainfall throughout the Maritimes and throughout Newfoundland. We'll talk more about how much rain you could see coming right up, but plenty of rain in the forecast in Atlantic Canada. From Alberta, which is why we are in Storm Center monitoring all of this snow that is on the way. You've already seen some snow on Saturday. That's just going to continue throughout the day Saturday. By Sunday, progressing into Saskatchewan, and then by even Monday, still lingering throughout southern Manitoba. Now we're watching really strong accumulation, upwards of 3 to 5 centimeters per hour by the end of the day, equaling up to 25 centimeters in Edmonton. Also through that Saskatoon area, upwards of 30 centimeters is possible. Now this is throughout your whole entire weekend. We're monitoring this, and your temps, those are dropping very much so, feeling more December-like, feeling super wintry, minus 10 in Calgary. Different story for you on the east, though. Those temperatures are around the seasonal mark in southern Ontario, but we do have a cool down in your long-range forecast. I'll get to the rain in Atlantic Canada in just a second, but taking a look at those icons across Barrie, Huntsville, Kincardine, you could experience some showers today. Those winds are going to be ramping upwards of 50 kilometers an hour along the shores of Lake Ontario and Lake Huron. So that's going to help contribute to making your temperatures feel even colder. Speaking of cold, we are monitoring some snow throughout that Timmins area, but rainfall for you in the south across the GTA. Now, we can't rule out the possibility of even some flurries flying through high elevated areas like Orangeville, for example, or even through Barrie, northern portions, that cottage country. We could experience some mixing. You see those pockets of blue? That is snow. Now, we're not looking at accumulation like we would in the Prairie provinces, but certainly enough that you're going to want to bundle up. Those conditions, cool cooling down in Ottawa. Take a look, feeling more like -3 by your Wednesday. That chilly pattern is really the trend across Canada. We'll talk more about your temperatures in the program, but here's the rain I mentioned throughout Atlantic Canada. Bring an umbrella throughout the entire weekend. If you're in the Maritimes, if you're in Newfoundland, that is the main story of the weekend. Quite soggy patterns for you the next couple of days. Saturday, even in through Sunday, heavy rainfall for you in Newfoundland, and it doesn't really stop there. By Monday, the rain's still lingering for you in portions of Nova Scotia. Now, we can't rule out some snow too for you. We're monitoring this much rain, but here's a look at how much snow we could see as well, mostly throughout that Edmundston and Miramichi area. Not super heavy snowfall though. So we are breaking down the top story of the week. Have you heard the term weather bomb? Not just one, but two weather bombs. Here to them, I think it's important for us to understand first what exactly a weather bomb or a bomb cyclone is. The names are interchangeable, right?
Yeah, you can also call it a bombogenesis, and that's essentially when you have a low pressure system.
So we experienced one in British Columbia on Wednesday, as well as Friday. Now, it's interesting. The Wednesday one is making almost like a reappearance.
Yes, but it's not going to be a weather bomb again, definitely much weaker. Essentially what we have is, however, it will not be strong like it was on Wednesday, much more weaker as it has begun to dissipate.
So that is good news. Now, this wasn't just a British Columbia story. This was a U.S. story. Now we're talking about a Europe story, too. The question is, Rhythm, can we see this on the East Coast, too?
Absolutely. A lot of folks across Atlantic Canada are well aware of weather bombs. The 24 millibars within 24 hours, definitely it can drop much more and become much more intense.
Now, this Saturday, today, we are monitoring heavy snowfall throughout the Prairie provinces, Alberta specifically. Does this have any sort of influence on what we're experiencing this weekend throughout the Prairie provinces?
Well, when we are talking about the Prairie province, we have this massive snowstorm pushing on in.
Like a cool down on the way. What does that mean for us in Southern Ontario and even Atlantic Canada, too?
Well, the cool down behind all of this snow is going to mean more polar air settling across the prairies. And
the winds, those are still going to be in your forecast, but that rain, here's what we're monitoring across the GTA. Mainly dry for you, but you might need an umbrella just in case. Really, these pockets coming towards us in the GTA, the main risk would be if you are traveling to perhaps your cottage or anything, anywhere up north through like Orangeville, even north of Orangeville through Barrie, you could experience some flurries. Just going to show how cool your conditions are starting to get. But we're not talking about accumulation of snow yet, mostly just some flurries. So if you are traveling, be aware, but across the GTA, I must say, it looks like you are mainly dry. Sunday, you could experience a shower or two. It will be a brief shower. It's not going to cause any ruckus on your plans, really. But those winds, that's the main storyline. We saw that video of the winds yesterday. Similar story for you Saturday afternoon across the shores of Lake Ontario, upwards of 42 kilometers an hour in Toronto. Niagara Falls, the winds gusting to 38 through Kingston, upwards of 30 kilometers an hour. The winds start to die down by your Sunday and even in through Monday. So it seems like a Saturday is the gustier day. It's the day you're going to want to hold on to your hat. All right, this afternoon, temperatures 8 degrees in Toronto and Oakville, as well as Hamilton, 9 degrees in Niagara Falls. So not too bad for your afternoon conditions. As we head into the overnight, it's starting to get a little cooler, right? We're not down to that minus digit yet for your overnight conditions, but I must say that is coming later on this week. As we head into your Sunday morning, 4 degrees in Toronto, quite cool conditions. And if you're headed to the Santa Claus Parade, the Toronto Santa Claus Parade is tomorrow. It will be 7 degrees, feeling more like 5. Bundle up yourself, bundle up those children, but you're not going to need the parka just yet. You might have to start pulling out those more heavy winter jackets, though, later on in the week, because we are starting to dip down to those lows of the minus digits. Low of -1 on Wednesday, a low of -4 on Thursday, a low of -4 on Friday. You get the point, right? It's starting to get cooler and cooler. This is all thanks to some polar air that's dipping in from the north, and that's headed our way. Now, Niagara Falls, a similar story for you. However, it does remain a little bit more warm. As I mentioned, pack an umbrella just in case. You might need it, but I'm hoping that you don't if you do have any outdoor plans. Stay with us. Plenty more to come in the program. Certainly feeling more November, even December-like for some of you. I'm Victoria Fenn, Alvarado, as we continue our Storm Center coverage. This is a look at the temperature pattern. That purple color is just indicating that sinking polar air. We are monitoring snow alongside the cool conditions for you. Now, you've already seen some snow falling through that Edmonton Red Deer area. Be aware if you are traveling along the QE2 today, because more snow is on the way. We're looking at snowfall rates of upwards of 3 to 5 centimeters per hour. Now, Saturday afternoon, heavy snowfall for you, especially through southern Alberta. As we head into your overnight, that's when the snow progresses through Saskatoon, Prince Albert, and it doesn't stop there. It does keep continuing towards Dauphin and Winnipeg by your Sunday morning. So this whole weekend is looking like quite the snowy pattern for you. This is going to be more so of fluffy snow. So we are monitoring gusty conditions, which could make for reduced visibility on those roadways, with also 25 centimeters projected from now until at least Sunday. Meanwhile, through your Monday, from now until Monday, that's when we could see upwards of 30 centimeters for you in Regina, 30 centimeters for you in Dauphin as well. Your temperature story, that's a whole other story. Take a look at this afternoon's conditions. Minus 10 Calgary, minus 10 Saskatoon, minus 5 Winnipeg. I want to jump just a little bit to Sunday, because those conditions really not any warmer. If anything, they're getting cooler. Calgary is now minus 13, and it doesn't stop there. The whole week in Saskatoon really looking like a cool pattern. By Wednesday, a low of minus 21. Edmonton, a similar story for you there. You're going to want to bundle up, and it doesn't stop throughout the Prairie provinces. We do have a cool down in your long-range forecast in southern Ontario, so enjoy these conditions while you can, because 8 degrees, that won't last too long, especially those overnight conditions. They're really starting to dip. Meanwhile, a soggy pattern for you in Atlantic Canada. Widespread rainfall throughout the Maritimes and throughout Newfoundland. We'll talk more about how much rain you could see coming right up, but plenty of rain in the forecast in Atlantic. Just light decorations there, getting you in the mood, especially if you're headed to the Santa Claus parade tomorrow. Looking like a pleasant afternoon on Sunday, 7 degrees, so feeling more like 5. You might want to bundle up a little bit more, but speaking of winter, yes, winter's on the way, and we have our winter forecast this week. Next weekend, I want to answer some of your questions. What are you hoping to see this winter? What would you like to hear about in advance? What I would like to know is if we're going to see more snow than what we saw last year. It wasn't really a good ski season, right? I'll answer your questions. You can send me those questions or any that you have on X or on Instagram at Victoria Fenn Alvarado. Here's a look at the next 7 days. I mentioned cool conditions are on the way. By Wednesday, we're dropping to a low of minus 1. On Thursday, a low of minus 4. You get the gist, right? Next week, or the end of this work week, is going to feel a lot colder than what you're experiencing today. You see those icons Monday, Tuesday indicating rain. We can't really rule out the possibility of a shower. We could experience a spotty shower across the GTA, but it will mostly be a come and go kind of rain. If you are traveling up north, perhaps you're in Orangeville or even Barrie, we could experience some flurries. Now, this isn't going to be an accumulative snow. It's mostly going to be just a flake flying in the air just to get you into that winter spirit and that winter mood. Speaking of howling winds, winds are going to be gusting upwards of 40 kilometers an hour along the shores of Lake Ontario today, so just hold on to your hats.